Alright, here's the next little project we have. This is a 69 Trail 90. It's titled as a 70, but it was built in 69. Picked it up. I bought it sight unseen. Person delivered it. And they delivered it to my brother's house, and I went and picked it up there. He said it ran. I was able to get it started once. Ran a little bit, but ran really bad. So this will be the next little project bike. We'll do it, will it run, and get it all going and see what we can figure out with it. I'm sure it's just the carburetor's probably stopped up, or spark plug maybe fouled. It turns over okay. Like I said, I did run it just a little bit down the road, but it would hardly stay running on its own. So gonna do a couple little videos on it and see what we can figure out, and see if we can get this thing running reliably and running. Let's just go ahead and do a little bit more walk around, a little more check on this thing and see what's going on. So far, the front brake is not working. The rear brake works by the foot pedal. The brake handle, you pull it and it's like it wants to pull the brakes, but needs some adjusting, needs some lubricating up on this whole brake setup here. I've never worked on a Trail 90, so this will all be new for me. Do some maintenance, some cleaning up, get it running right. The headlight also does not work, and the tail light doesn't work. This model does not have turn signals on it, so I might have to get some turn signals for this thing. It does have the mirrors. Mirrors are corroded up, so we're going to try to do some cleaning up on this. The odometer, I believe, works. The speedometer was working for the quick little ride that I had. The seat is a little raggedy at the front, but the whole seat's not bad. We probably won't do anything with that. This center cover here has a couple cracks in it, but has a nice patina look to it. The kickstand's pretty bad shape. A lot of little surface rust in places and some things that need to be cleaned up. Does have new, looks like new front tire. Back tire looks fairly new, doesn't look in terrible shape. We'll do some maintenance on the chain, check that all out, check the gear, the rear sprocket, and see how it is. This back tire's got some rust on it, so do the shocks. It's got a great little buddy seat on it. That's in good shape. A little crack in the top of the lens, but the lens isn't too bad. So the exhaust, pretty rusted up on the exhaust. We'll see if that cleans up. And some rust down here on the swing arm. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this bike all the way. I don't know if I'm not going to do a restoration or anything on it. I might just clean it up, keep the patina, but see if we can get rid of some of the rust, like on this muffler shield and around the headlights. I'm sorry, around the mirror, on the mirrors and things like that. This wiring looks like somebody has gotten into the wiring before. I don't know if they just taped up this little plastic cover on it, or if the wires are all hacked up. So hopefully they're not all hacked up. Looks like somebody's put a new exhaust gasket, maybe an exhaust gasket in there, so it wouldn't leak. And we'll go from there. I did put a Kickstarter on it because that Kickstarter was broken, and I knew that before I got it, so I ordered a Kickstarter ahead of time and just put that on it to kind of kick on it. But we'll check the spark plug, check the carburetor, see if we can get the carburetor cleaned up and blown out, and see if we can get this thing running. And then we'll go from there on the maintenance and clean up on it. A lot of gunk down here on the motor and underneath on this little pan underneath. So, but we'll see what we can figure out on this thing, and try to see if we can get a running little bike. The gas tank didn't look terrible inside. I checked it and it looked little rusty inside, nothing that I think will affect how it runs. It doesn't look like it's loose rust all over the place. It looks like just at one time somebody probably didn't have gas in it for a while and it got a little bit of surface rust on things. But we'll check the fuel lines out, maybe put a filter in there if there's not one, or check the filter if there is one. So yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, I got the bike on the lift and I removed the center cover there to get into the carburetor here. Now, I noticed one thing when I took the air cleaner off, that the air box, that this boot has got a huge gap around the carburetor. It's not sealing up at all, so I'm gonna have to look into that, getting a new boot for that air cleaner, or see if maybe something's missing here. I don't have a manual for this bike yet, and so I'm doing all this for the first time, taking a look at it, see what I can figure out. I do have an older manual that it's like from 1945 to 85, has a bunch of different bikes in it and ATVs, so I might take a look at that and see if maybe this carburetor is in that manual and see if I can find some information out about it. But I'm going to take it off and maybe tear it apart, clean it out, and see what I can find with it. Okay, I'm going ahead and pulling the carburetor off, and I noticed a couple things when I was doing this. One is, looks like some old corrosion around that intake. It may be nothing, but I did notice how dirty and grimy things are down here underneath the carburetor. So I'm figuring that this carburetor either used to leak or had a gas leak at one time, and maybe that's why there's all this dirt and everything all over it, kind of stuck in there. I could be wrong, and this could be a replacement carb. I thought these had a little lever you could pull when you were over, 6,000 feet, I think it was, elevation. You could pull that lever to change the, I guess it changed the jetting on the carb for the higher altitude, and this doesn't have it on it. It may be a different model that has this, or either this carburetor might have been changed before. So that's just one thing to notice as I was pulling it off, and just wanted to kind of show that. So I'm going to just go ahead and pull these two bolts out here, disconnect the carb, and we'll go from there. Okay, I may have found the problem here. I popped the immersion tube, I think is how you pronounce it, and I don't know if you can tell in this view, but they're completely clogged up. Emulsion tube, I think is how you pronounce this thing. Luckily the gasket on it, the seal, looks fine, but I can only see through those two holes. The rest of the holes are completely clogged. So I'm going to blow this out, clean it out real good, and blow the rest of the carb out and clean it, and then we'll put it back together and see if it runs. Alright, so got into this bike a little bit, and I totally forgot to record what I was doing to it, but I checked the timing on it and reset the gap. The gap was pretty close to being right, but what was wrong was the timing was retarded and it wouldn't fire at the right point. So I made a little timing light with a Harbor Freight light here, and I set the timing correctly. So let me, I don't have my camera with me, but I'll try to do it here on my phone. Let me get the timing light set up and I'll show you what I did. Okay, there's directions online on how to make this timing light work. You basically go inside of it and you cut one of the wires and you solder like the red wire to it and the negative wire to where the wire went to the battery. So it's basically very easy. It's online. You can find it, I'm sure. If I find the link of what I used, I'll post it below. But so what you do is when you turn the light on, so right now the light should be on, I believe, and you can touch your two ends together and the light will come on. So what you do is you unplug the one wire to the points here. Put this wire on the case. Put that wire there. And so as you turn, make sure the bike's on. Yeah, it's on now. So as your points open or close, right now the light's on, the points are closed. So when you come around to the firing mark, let's see if I can see the lines, that light should go off. And there, it's right on the F, and the light went off. So what I had to do was just advance this timing a little bit to get that light to go off as soon as it was on the firing mark. Like I said, I gapped the points. And then the second thing that I found out what was wrong with it was that the intake valve was too tight. It wasn't, there was no play in there at all. I rotated the motor around to get it on the compression stroke on top dead center, and this valve was just pinned down. It had no play in it at all. So I adjusted that valve. The bottom one was fine. The top one was just way too tight. Loosened it up and hooked everything back up, and first kick it fired up and it started right up. So I think I'm happy with the carburetor. I cleaned the carburetor really well. I think I've got the air intakes and the fuel mixture set pretty close. I think I need to bring the idle up a little bit. But yeah, I was having a really hard time getting this bike started when I first bought it. It wouldn't run, and you know, I got it to run for a few minutes and then it shut off and then it wouldn't start back up. So I think we figured out what it was just the timing was off and that valve was just way too tight. So now it seems like it has it turns over and you can feel a little bit more compression there, because I guess that valve is opening and closing like it's supposed to, because it was just staying open, I think, partially. So should be good to go. I'm gonna button this stuff back up and we'll start it back up again. All right, here we go. Got the key on, the light is on there. Let's see if I can get up here and give it a little kick while it's on the stand here. Accidentally hit the throttle, but as you hear, it starts right up and runs. I think I need to adjust the idle a little bit, but that's better than what it was doing before. Starts right up. That's how these things should be, these little tanks. All right, so I'm going to adjust the idle a little bit and see if we can get it idling a little bit better. But I did put a new spark plug in it as well. This other spark plug didn't look bad, but for $2, put a new spark plug in it just to make sure that the spark plug wasn't an issue either. So yeah, it's coming along. All right, just took it down the road and it rode like a champ. So now I'm gonna see what I can figure out on these brakes. Get the front brakes working and the rear hand brakes working, because right now all I have is a foot brake and that doesn't work very well. So I'm gonna go through that next, and that'll probably be the next part we'll do in this process on this CT90.